I love that Chad is like super fire. They're already like all of a sudden Chad just like welcome everyone to the Weekenders event. It is the weekend. It is Saturday.
Who's got pizza?
Welcome everyone. Oh, that's where I find out I had this tab open. It is the weekend. It is Saturday.
Oh, you're talking to yourself again, Brad.
No, it happens every week. Welcome. That's where I find out I had this. This is what I get for being prepared with a link.
You're talking to yourself again, Jared.
Oh my gosh. It's going to be in just a loop. Where is that?
Difficulties.
I'm stuck in the Matrix.
Hey, people, it's 2 panels for the price of 1.
Panels for 1. Okay, thank heavens. I try to be helpful and like keep that link available so people are like, how do I watch the panel? And then inevitably, if I forget, then
you leave it open.
Yeah, and then it starts playing. And okay, fantastic. Well, welcome everybody. We have an amazing lineup this weekend. Phil Lamarr, Jason Marsden. You guys are freaking legends. Jason, tell me how you got from Rhode Island to Los Angeles. How did that happen?
Well, it primarily was in a van with my parents. My stepfather was a ballet teacher, and he got a gig teaching ballet at Fullerton College. And hey, what's up, Amaya? A lot of these people. David, what's up? So we relocated to California, and that's how I got to California.
Okay, so that was it. There was pre-acting, like pre.
Oh yeah, I was like 10, 11 years old, and it was not even part of our thoughts.
Okay.
So you didn't come to LA to be in show business.
Nope.
You weren't living in the Oakwood waiting for.
No. I visited the Oakwood, but I didn't get to live there.
That's fantastic. Phil, how did you get a microphone in your hand? Or what came first? Were you on stage? Did you do theater? Like, how did the acting bug bite you, and how did you end up in front of people as an entertainer?
Well, I was not a performer. I was a reader, and my junior high did a production of one of my favorite books, The Phantom Tollbooth. So I only auditioned because I loved the book. And there's this little character towards the end of the story that I was dying to play. But I wound up getting cast as one of the leads instead.
Okay. Did that, like, tell me about, you're looking at the board, you're like, did I get it? Did I get it? You're like, wait, why am I? Tell me about that. How did that go when you saw that?
Well, I mean, it was our, 8th grade drama teacher. So we all knew, it's like, oh, okay, we're doing the play. And I went to an all-boys school, so doing a play was really one of the only ways to meet girls. But really, I was just like, okay, so I'm going to learn this other part. But throughout the entire rehearsal process, through the corner of my eye, I was watching the guy who got my part, Ben Peck, and he did not nail it. Ben did not nail it.
Oh my gosh, have you talked to Ben since? Like, have you talked to him? No.
Well, I mean, we went to high school together, so, but no, we never talked about the fact that he took my role.
You didn't give him notes or anything?
Nope.
Oh man,
just in my head.
I love that so much. Okay, so you did one and then like you were bit. It was like,
well, because the play opens with my character doing a monologue to the audience alone on stage in a spotlight, which is basically like getting fresh heroin, from the poppy field. And, I've been chasing that dragon since 8th grade. That the feeling of being alone on stage and having the entire audience there for you was just changed my brain chemistry.
Okay. And you did not have to move from Rhode Island. You were already from Los Angeles, right?
Mm.
So what was the next step? Were you like at every audition from there on out? Like, how did you go from?
No. I wasn't trying to be a child actor. No offense.
Shots fired.
No. Although weirdly, I did wind up being one. A friend of my mother's worked for NBC.
Okay.
She was head of children's programming, and she got me a part on a cartoon my junior year of high school. I did the Mr. T cartoon.
That's awesome.
That's right. I watched that.
Yeah.
It was awful. It was
That
such
wasn't Mr. T doing the Mr. T, though. Wasn't it somebody else?
No, it was Mr. T.
It was?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Was he cool?
I never got to meet him. We did 3 seasons,
really?
never recorded together.
Oh my
Dang it.
Wow.
Although I did get to meet June Foray, Paul Winchell, because they came in and guested one episode.
Sure.
Oh my god.
So, but yeah, it was, although I didn't think of it as being in show business, that was just my summer job because they recorded in the summer. So they wouldn't have to pay for a teacher.
Oh.
And it wound up after college when I came home to LA and decided to actually try acting. Like, oh wait, I already have my SAG card.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love how practical your career has been. You're like,
Right.
it's
Although
just-
it's funny because I didn't get back to voiceover in cartoons. That was what I did that show in '83. Didn't come back in front of a microphone until like 1998. Probably when we were doing Weekenders.
Time.
Okay, Gray, you're also a
Okay.
native.
Hi guys. Oh, sorry.
Hi, Freddie.
Hi guys. Oh, I looked like hell about 8 minutes ago. I was just like, "You guys." I mean, I was trying to get ready, and my kids were just we're having a bad day. But it's all right. I can't wait for. I can't wait for them to get vaccines and school to start again. Oh my god, I'm gonna be the happiest person when this is done. I am gonna be like, what's there to ever complain about? Life is wonderful. There's full-time school. Oh my god, that's all I need. Anyway.
Gray's like date of birth,
Oh,
1932, 1947.
I Tex is driving me crazy too because my oldest son, he's 14. He's like, just forget it. I'm just gonna get it. God, I just want to be with my friends. I'll just get the disease.
Oh God.
It's not gonna kill me, right? This is killing me, And I was like, I'm always arguing with him, Anyway, there was like a vaccine trial that somebody suggested him do, and I was like, I'm not. They're not a parent, and so I was like, okay, well, we're not going to let our child be a guinea pig, but thank you, But yeah, but
Well, actually, great. It's less the guinea pig thing than you don't want to give a teenage boy the vaccine because then he'll think I can do anything. He will be going out letting people cough on him for $5 and then coming home to your ass.
He'll get someone pregnant. He'll get some girl who's getting pregnant. He'll be like, "Hey, I'm vaccinated. Who's up?"
Right. It's like, not wearing a mask, not wearing a condom.
Yeah, that escalated quickly. Oh my gosh, that's so
man.
funny.
Anyway, so I was like, I'm coming, just like anyway.
I also
there was like 9. They followed me all the way down to the studio door, and I just was like, eat whatever you want. They had a box of corn pops because there's these I bought this little variety pack of cereals just for if we had guests who just didn't like my hidden healthy ranch cavern. I have like the Whole Foods version of everything where it's like I know it's like Golden Grams, but it tastes like crap. It's just like that. I brought them just in case like my brother or somebody, anyway, but now they found those. So now they were literally following me out with a box of corn pops going, but can I? And I was like, yes, just whatever you want. Just eat whatever you want. I'll be out in a second.
How long is that? How much time is that going to buy us?
Oh man. That's a parenting second. Time is fungible when you're a parent.
I know. My daughter has this tone that went on the whole time I was trying to do my hair, which didn't work. It's a mess. I'm so glad that
You look good.
the lighting is terrible in here, and I'm so grateful. But anyway, Mom, she has this like this beacon, like beep, beep, beep. Anyway.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Anyway.
Who all has kids? Okay, good. So this is
Wait, how old is Clark now, Jay?
Sorry?
How old is Clark now?
He just turned 11.
Oh my gosh.
We could share clothes now.
I thought you said you stopped at 12.
I'll fold clothes. I'm like, is this mine?
Oh man, I'm there right now. Rachel was like, "We have to go shopping for Eov." I was like, "What does he need?" She's like, "Everything." I was like, "Oh." But with Novin, my 15-year-old, I'm like, "What am I not wearing? I'm just gonna put it in his closet, and we can just roll."
Yeah.
Well, hey, I'm at the other end of that.
Yeah.
I'm getting his hand-me-downs.
Oh.
My 19-year-old is bigger than me.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, how much of it do you wear? Do you like?
Well, most of it is too flashy for me, but every once in a while, I'm like, all right, I'm feeling a little rowdy. I'm gonna go steal something out of his closet.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much. Okay, so Jason, your parents forced you to move to California from Rhode Island.
Yes.
How do you get into acting then? Because you said it's nowhere near Zeitgeist, it's not in your family. How did you get from Rhode Island kid to the stage or the microphone?
It was just someone suggested it to my mom. They, they're like, "Oh, your son's cute. You should get him into acting." And we were close enough to Hollywood, living in Anaheim, and
Like, I'll just drive over.
sorry.
I'll just drive you over to Hollywood.
Well, ultimately, that's what happened. I mean, my mom enrolled me into a workshop in Irvine, California.
Very cool.
And it was all ages. I remember it was like Thursday nights at 7:30 to like 10. And it was me, it was a couple other kids and adults. And we went through everything: improv, scene study, commercials, slating, like really like the gambit. And we did for 12 weeks. They sent me to an agent. The agent signed me that day. The next day, I was immediately being saturated on auditions. It just sort of happened. Hey, I fit a mold. It was like 80s. It was like there was no diversity. It was either me or the blonde guy.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we have a brown-haired person on our show. What are you talking about? There's a brown hair. There's a brunette and a redhead. We're fine.
Well, it's funny because we talk a lot about ethnic diversity, but really, if you look at TV shows back when we started out, there was no cuteness diversity.
Yeah.
Like, Jay, you are super cute, and everybody on TV was super cute.
Still am, Bill.
Oh, I know. But the thing is, nowadays, you actually see more regular looking people than you ever did back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Phil, tell me about that path to, it's been cool to see so many voices get raised last year. There was almost a spotlight on I think we overlooked, somehow we got to 2020 and I think we overlooked quite a bit. Tell me about did you face an uphill battle? Did you feel like people would, once they got you behind the microphone, did they want to keep you there? Like, what has been your experience as far as diversity goes in acting?
Well, it's funny because from when I came in, it's like being raised on a mountain. You don't notice the uphill battle. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to audition for a part unless it's a black guy. And if you can only do the black guy voice, you will not be back. Yeah. And the thing is, most of the time, I mean, I remember, unless it was like a leading character of color, then they needed an actor of color. But secondary, like everybody's talking about Kevin taking over for Harry Shearer on The Simpsons right now. It's like, dude, they knew back then. They just didn't care. It wasn't important. The only thing that's changed really from the last 2 decades, 5 decades, they didn't know.
Yeah.
2 decades ago, they knew but didn't care.
Right.
And I guarantee you there was some discussion where like, well, we can't make Dr. Hibbert the dumb doctor. Make that Dr. Nick. You can't make the black guy the bad doctor. He'll be the good doctor. But if it was bound to like, well, are we going to pay an extra $800 for an actor who looks like this girl? It's like, oh, he's got 4 lines. It's not. But nowadays, looking through 2021 eyes, people's like, well, representation is actually worth $800.
Yeah.
Although scale has gone up.
I did not, because that wasn't my experience. It's you do the best that you can, But 5 years ago, so I played Injustice. Injustice is a great DC video game, and I found Static Shock, and I was like, this guy's badass. I'm going to main Static. I've never heard of this guy. I'm going to be the cool kid. And I was ranked at the time in Injustice and whooping people's rear ends. And Static Shock, John Stewart. Like, I had no idea it was just me and you just whooping people's ass. And then I was like, we got to do art from this guy. I'm so moved. It's really cool. Like I got to tell people about, and then people started telling me about Static Shock. They're like, oh, it's a show. I was like, so it was really cool to see in really a void of representation that Static Shock really made a lot of, like, was very special and very important to a lot of people. I would imagine your convention experience is a lot about Static Shock.
Yeah. Jay, do you get that too?
Sorry, I had to mute because I live by a train, which is a perfect when you're a voice actor.
But have you found that more and more people are talking about the impact of the show?
Yes, to my delight. I don't know where they were watching it because it wasn't available until recently. But
for 15 years, the whole series was not available on DVD or streaming, anything.
Yeah, they have a couple of DVDs with just a couple episodes, nothing really linear, but yeah, man, a lot of good positivity from that show. It was
such a good show. Good
show, great experience, really well run, tackled a lot of heavy stuff. And I don't know about you, but I mean, I don't want to sound conceited, but you work on so much stuff that you forget the storylines, and people had to remind me about, oh yeah, remember when Richie's bigoted dad, or he got shot. And I'm like, oh right, yeah, we did that, didn't we? Yeah, it's no wonder it made such an impact,
Yeah. I mean, because especially at that time, early 2000s, nobody was trying to do that in a cartoon.
No.
Yep.
I mean, or any TV show really. Like there was the one very special episode of Different Strokes, but but with Static Shock, it was like, they weren't doing a special episode. There's no, we're dealing with life, our characters' lives.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see the cast. I mean, it's a predominantly Black cast. There was tons and tons of actors. It looks like everybody got the ability to play multiple roles. There's some stellar folks that showed up, Martian Manhunter. There's some really cool stuff that went down in that show. And honestly, I felt like Injustice, the video game, I feel like there's some people out there that could really love this, and we're going to put him in Injustice, and we're going to see how many people choose to play him. We'll track playable hours, and then that'll give us the impetus to whether or not this guy needs to be a bigger part of the DC. Yeah, it's been.
Wasn't that only in the iPad version?
So it started out just on the mobile phone,
mobile version.
And it was my thing. I played at the post office. I'd be like, oh, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm gonna.
Did they ever move Static to the console?
Oh, let me pull that up. Chat, if you can help.
I don't think they did.
Chat, you guys help me if Static made it out of the mobile version and into the console for Injustice. Let me know.
I don't think so. If it did, I didn't voice him.
Oh, well, okay. So we'll sadly await the answer to what might break our hearts. Great. What's been that for you? That character that has just lived with you forever. That fans just, convention after convention has just been super meaningful to them. What's that one for you?
Or give us your top 5, Gray.
Out of your 1,000, just pick one.
I was gonna joke and say I feel like I really understand the struggle of Black actors because my Catwoman was only on the add-on, so I wanted to talk about the unattractive actors for a second because my grandma was I was raised by my grandmother, and then toward the end of her life I took care of her, and just I got a peek into probably what every executive in Hollywood really was thinking but wasn't saying, because she was old and she was Mexican, but she was sort of a self-hating Mexican, so she said the most racist shit all the time. Anyway, but I took her to see Shallow Hal once, and she we left, and she was so upset. She was like, I don't like that movie. It was terrible. And I was like, why? She's like, I don't want to go to the movies and see ugly people and big people and I don't want. I want to go and see beautiful people dancing in beautiful clothes. That's life. She's like, I see those other people every day. I see an old lady in the mirror. I don't want to go see an old lady in the screen.
Oh shoot!
I know. I was like, okay, shallow grandma. Anyway, but
Was your grandmother in charge of casting the romantic lead for every man over 50?
Oh man!
Oh my god!
I don't want to see a 50-year-old woman kissing someone.
Oh my gosh!
She didn't comment though about like, oh, somebody was married. Oh, it was Kevin James and Leah Remini when they were a couple. She did have a problem with that, probably just because he was like heavy, not because he was
Right.
ancient like normal. No, it was just she was like, I don't know why that pretty lady is with that little gordito. Anyway, but
Oh my gosh!
I don't even know what we're talking about. Oh yeah, well my
Top
most.
one.
The thing that cut through the most is Azula, and the funny thing is on Avatar: The Last Airbender, I had never seen the show. I went to a convention with Tara Strong just because she was like, "Do you want to go to Florida? It'll be fun. They're gonna put us up in this fancy hotel room. You're not doing anything." I think I was like trying to escape one of my bad relationships, and I was like, "Okay, I'll go." And so I went. And I'm sitting at a table. I'm like, nobody's gonna pay for my. I've never done this before. I don't think anybody would pay for my autograph. She's like, just bring some headshots because she's like, didn't you have anything printed out? Because she had like, what we have now. But I was like, and then some person, they would walk by my table and kind of look and be like, okay, I don't know, and then like keep going, and I'm like, see, this is a big waste of time. But at least we got a fancy hotel room. And then one guy was like, hey, were you Azula on Avatar: The Last Airbender? And I was like, I think so. And he was like, so he was like, he left, and then he like looked at his phone, and then a few more people were like, we heard that Azula, and I was like, I think I really did. And then they were like, yeah, and they were like, I'm like, oh my god, yeah. They're like, and so then it was just like ants to a sugar cube or something, and then they were just
Here, guys.
buying my headshot. I couldn't believe it. I felt like it was a dream. Like I was just like I'm gonna wake up and go with a stack of headshots, going, oh well, that was fun.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, I gotta print some pictures of Azula. But the sad part is I still have not watched the show. I've watched. I know.
Yeah.
I started to watch it with text, but then I'm so ADHD that I was like holding laundry and text like, you have to sit and watch the thing. I was like, I know, I'm going to, I will. And I was like, but I just want to return this email real quick. But I'm watching, and he's like, no, you cannot. You have to. So anyway, I didn't do that. But
I disagree with Tex. You could totally do your laundry and watch like 100%, and it's just as good.
if I'm not doing three things at once, I feel that I'm wasting my time. I feel like it's awful. Anyway.
Yeah.
See, but I think the problem with Avatar would be, this is the problem I had when my daughter was watching it. Every time you walk out of the room and still hear it, you're like, wait, I know that guy. Because everybody we know
is in.
Guessed it on it. Like, is that J.K. Simmons? What the?
Yeah.
Henry, I was in Korra too, and Henry Rollins played my boyfriend in it, and like I was like obsessed with him in high school. I mean, my one friend met him and he kissed her cheek, and she literally, it sounds, she did not wash her cheek. So like, yeah.
Wow.
So I had to pretend, every time I meet a celebrity, if I really like them, they end up thinking I'm the biggest a-hole in the whole world because I don't want to freak out. So instead, I'm just a cold bitch. Just like, I'm just like, I barely acknowledge them. I'm sure Henry Rollins is like, that girl was, but all I was doing is like, don't freak out. Just like hold it together, so anyway, if he'd known the alternative, he would be very happy with this cold bitch. So anyway, but yeah, they had huge guest stars on that.
That's interesting.
That's really funny about what you said about, I didn't know I was this character. Does anybody else have this? Because we've all been in this for a while through the transition from analog to digital. Like, did you guys started pre-internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like back when the actor's relationship to the audience was not a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Like, we weren't doing this for the audience.
Right.
We were doing this for the people who write the paychecks.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then if you find out that the audience likes it, you're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Somebody's watching? Cool.
There was no bridge. There was no like phone line. It was like, okay, I hope that, yeah, you're in a room for an hour, and it's like I played Jean and Bayonetta, and I didn't know that until like maybe 10 years ago when someone came up to me at a convention with a thing, and I was like, oh, I don't want to ruin your CD box because I don't think that, they were like, no, it is you, and I was like, no, I don't think so, and they had to go away. They're like, this is you, right? And I'm like, yeah, oh my god, okay, well, I signed it, and then but it's like for us, it's an hour. For them, they spend a whole summer with that person or whatever, So
although Jay, maybe for you it's different because Hocus Pocus was a movie, and that the idea of fandom, even back when we were starting out, was a little more. Movie fandom was more of a thing.
Well, I mean, Hocus Pocus wasn't a hit when it came out. It kind of came and went.
Oh.
It was just like everything else, But tapping on what you're saying, like it's very rare to find people who know who voice actors are because they read the credits. If you ran into someone like that, they were probably working in cartoons. Now we have the availability to see that it's not just people who are even interested in the industry, people who just love cartoons, love to follow the talent. That's been the boom that helps us, that
YouTube and
YouTube, yeah.
I remember the very first time somebody was like, my son freaked out when you came over, and I was like, what? And this was like 10 years ago, and he was like, yeah, because he watched the added content on his Scooby-Doo video. And so so I was like, oh, how weird. I mean, we do those like on one afternoon where they're like, don't look like shit, because they're gonna have a camera there. Like that's like I'm sorry, are there children on this thing? But probably, I don't know. There's no kids who watch The Weekenders. They're all.
But also great. I love that you pretend that there is some recording session that you come to where you don't look amazing.
What she's wearing right now, ladies and gentlemen, is an example of some gown or dress that she's amazing.
Yeah. It's a vintage dressing gown.
Vintage dress.
Got a little puffed sleeve.
Oh, it's so delicious.
You never turn it off.
My quarantine look is vintage dressing gowns with marabou slippers. My son was like, wow, okay, see, this is like your whole quarantine look. Everybody's like, I can't do sweatpants because I was raised by my grandmother and she broke me down. See, now Latina women will break your looks down forever so that you are constantly just feeling inadequate. Your whole life you're like, I gotta put some lipstick on or no one will love me. Yeah, so if I went out without lipstick, I just never heard the end of it. She was like, you look trash. You look so terrible. Trashy. Just nothing. Dead face. Really, it's true. And then my hair all like granule. Put some curlers in your hair. Anyway, but it's like I have a thing in my stand-up where she was like, do something with yourself. Put some lipstick on. Push yourself up. Nobody's gonna want you. But I was 7, so. People did want me. Anyway, okay. Oh boy.
Why is no one putting you down a well?
You will never make it to the basement like this. Okay.
No one's going to invite you into a van.
Oh man.
I have to say about you, Jason, I got starstruck at Halloween because the kid's dad, who lives in Nashville, came to visit, and we did a whole like Halloween week, with Daddy, because he doesn't visit, he can't visit very often because of the pandemic. But so he came, and we had like pumpkin patches, and I was like, well, let's make Halloween stuff and watch Hocus Pocus, and we watched, and I'm like, I know. I was like, is that Jason? I was like, it sounds I was like, it can't be. I mean, I'm sure I would have heard of that. Because see, for me, I brag about everything that I've ever been involved in. And as I know now, I knew Phil forever. He was at a party of mine, and somebody was like, is that the guy from Pulp Fiction? And I was like, no. And they were like, yeah, that's the guy that gets his head blown out. And I was like, no. I was like, he would have mentioned it because he's an empty person like me who has to have validation. I'm sure he would have said something. Anyway. So anyway, congratulations on that part you did 30 years ago.
Thank you.
I was starstruck. I was like, that's my chick. Oh my God. Like, I was like really excited. And then of course the kids were like, Mom, shush, So yeah.
Oh man.
Bless you. Bless you.
Yeah, to everything. Okay. Jason.
Red.
Did you know Phil went to Yale also? Does everybody know that?
You're
that.
all of my good nuggets that I have for later.
Oh, sorry. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, that should have been the first thing out of your mouth. It was me. I would have had all the stickers on my car, that sweatshirt every day. It's like,
no, great. That's the guys who went to Harvard.
Whoa.
You see that John Oliver where they pieced together the montage of all the journalists being like, "Well, I went to Harvard. Well,
Yeah.
I went to Harvard. Yeah, well, I'm a Harvard graduate." Yeah.
I love it.
That's amazing. Okay, Jason, when you
GED. I didn't go to college. GED.
I went to Harvard Westlake, which is
Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
Just in the parking lot because he found a cute girl.
oh my gosh!
all these LA jokes. Okay, sorry.
When you did Spirited Away, had you watched any of the Miyazaki before? Like,
No, I'd never heard of Miyazaki until I booked that. I never really got into anime. It just wasn't in my circle. My network of friends watched anime. When I found out I booked it is when it was explained to me that this is Miyazaki's like the Disney of Japan, and this movie's made more money than Titanic, and John Lasseter is a pal, and he's going to bring this content to the U.S. And it wasn't until after I really saw it, because when you're doing ADR, when you're dubbing it, I only saw the parts that my character was in. Yep. I didn't see the entire movie for a couple months later, and then I was like, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah,
yeah, I had no idea.
Have you watched any other Miyazaki films?
I watched a couple.
Okay, favorite among what you've seen?
Spirited Away.
I actually watched it in a religion and film class. I mean, it's Miyazaki's like highbrow anime. It's like anime for cultured people. It's not, there's no fan service, no crazy like.
No, clearly, because they with the success, they don't even think about franchising it or sequels or anything. Like I love that it's a one. Each story is unique, and the anime. I love animation. If I wasn't an actor, I probably would have pursued being an animator. So I look at that aspect as well, and it's just blows me away.
It's definitely artwork for sure. Okay, Bill. So how did you get there? How did you get from California to your Ivy League school?
My single mom worked really hard and sent me to a private school, Harvard Westlake. And
so he's a Harvard and a Yale man. Sorry, go ahead.
And I went back east to school, which was weird. Having grown up in LA, I had no experience with the East Coast. And I really enjoyed it. But after graduating, like all the people I'd done plays with in college moved to New York, and I was like, "Ooh, that sounds scary." I don't have any money. I'd rather be broke in LA, and so I came home.
Yeah, good. And then you weren't broke ever again.
Interesting. Now, do you ever go back? Are you like, I'm a West Coast dude, East Coast isn't my thing? Like, is it different now?
No, a lot of people think I'm from the East Coast. Oh. But no, I go back and forth. My wife's from Philadelphia, so we travel back and forth, and I enjoy both, and the perspective shift of being able to see, because like growing up in LA, Yale was like, oh, that's where smart people go. But then I got to the East Coast, like, oh no, that's where rich people go. Like, oh, that's a different perspective.
Yeah.
And going from LA where it's like, this 7-Eleven is almost 22 years old, to Connecticut where one friend of mine, her house was from the 1700s. Yeah.
It is cool. I do like Philadelphia is a city that is absolutely rich in history. Yeah. Is your wife an Eagles fan at all?
No, not really. She's not a sports fan. But it's funny because after graduation I spent a summer in Boston, and since then I've spent a lot of time in Philadelphia. And to me, like they both share a lot of history, but like Boston is like, yeah, we got a lot of revolutionary history, whereas Philadelphia is like, we have a lot of revolutionary history.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's the brotherly love versus the like shove it down your throat.
Yep, 100%. It is very. Now, it always jumps out to me how close everything is in the East Coast. You could drive in California for days, Texas for days, like Colorado, like there was Utah. You can drive depending on which way you traverse a state. You can literally be in the same state for days. Whereas in the East Coast, Unless it's like North Carolina, if you drive too far, you're in 1 or 2 or 3 more states.
Yeah. Yeah. That was another shift. Like the states here are so small.
Yeah. I think they were just so scared. All the wilderness that they get to the East Coast, and they're like, oh, we don't want to go too far inland. Who knows what's out there?
Because Gray, you grew up in SoCal, right?
Yeah, I did. But when I joined, I joined a band for a while when I first left college, and the guy was like, "Let's leave LA and go to Philadelphia because we can travel." I mean, he's like, he's like, at least the East Coast because we can tour a lot easier. We can hit a lot more states. If we stay in California, it'll take us forever to see. I was like, oh, that's good logic.
LA Fresno.
Yeah. So anyway, but that's
so
fine.
did you go?
Yeah, I lived in Philly for a little bit. Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
I lived in the Terrain building on 6th and Spruce Street. Yeah, the Terrain building,
Downtown.
building. Oh yeah, it was pretty. Yeah. Anyway. Nice.
Oh man, those buildings downtown Philadelphia. All right, Jason, do you do Rhode Island Comic Con?
I did it once. Yeah, it was a good time. I met
So-
Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. Blew my mind.
yes, yes. Some of the best artichokes in America are downtown Rhode Island in Providence, right by the convention center.
Artichokes, you say? You're vegan, aren't you?
I eat like a vegetarian when I'm out in public because most places don't serve ethically raised meat. Like I'm cool as long as the animal had a great life and it died with a smile on its face. I'll eat it.
I love it, Brad. You're talking about artichokes in the Weekenders panel. It's like I'm just gonna call you Brad Fan Service Kelly from now on.
I know. I was like, we have not touched on the Weekenders at all, have we? Okay. I was like, did I miss the part where we talked about the Weekenders?
Yeah.
No, just a friendly. I should have started off with. I take for granted apologies. Gray has been with us several times before, and I totally forgot to explain the first public panel. Okay, so as chat has, if anyone's new in chat, you have already noticed that I don't take questions in the first panel. It's because a lot of times it's either me catching up with friends or getting to know new friends. And like, I want to know who you are, how you got where you're right. You oftentimes get to answer the same questions in a lot of spaces. And so my goal is not to simply done what has already been done in another panel. I want to showcase you guys as people. And then we have a VIP panel. So we'll take a 30-minute, in about 20 minutes, we'll take a 30-minute break. And then Phil and Jason will be back with us to answer as many questions as you want on whatever in the VIP. So there is still time. If you have not booked a hangout with Gray or Jason or Phil, feel free to do that now. Go hit up the page. I'll drop a link in the chat that'll appear on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then go hang out with these guys. Okay, tell me, Jason, have you done online events yet this year?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have a good time this morning?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Everyone was super cool, and your mods are like super cool. And I could talk to anybody. I have fun with anybody, but there's some great young artists who were showing me their artwork. There was we were talking, WandaVision. We were talking, pandemic.
Yep.
Just hanging out. I loved it.
Yes, Phil. Did you have a good time this morning?
Yeah, it was nice.
No.
Oh,
Not as good a time as Jason.
No, there's
Well, I never have as good a time as Jason. That's been the hallmark of our relationship.
I had the weirdest experience with another meet and greet thing, which I will remain nameless. But there was a guy that was kind of bugging me online, like he was like, sending me like a little bit too many messages, and I wouldn't do all. He was like ordering tons of cameos, some that I turned down. I was like, no. And then he like shows up in the chat room, and I don't know who he is. I don't know what it looks like.
Right.
Gorgeous.
Gray's like, do you want to send in those cameos again?
He was like, Gray, it's me, so and so, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. He was so handsome. I mean, he's still weird as shit, but anyway.
You must get more as a female. You must get more like weird people.
You would think I would cross the age threshold, but no, they've got.
Well, remember Trust McNeil? She voiced Gadget, one of my favorite cartoons, Chippendale's Rescue Rangers. But I heard that the amount of fan mail that she would get from weird guys about her character was piles high.
Because you're 29, Gray. If you weren't 29, yeah, that's the problem. At 29, everybody thinks you're in their radar.
But I wanted to say one little message from Kath. She loves
Yes.
everybody so much. She's just, Kath, she's an
Yeah.
actor, but
I
she's like
figured.
the least actorly actor ever. Like she's beautiful, but she's so reserved and like, just so classy. And I always feel so around her, like whenever I'm like, she's like, oh, okay, great. She's so sweet, but she's just so these are just not. She's just a little bit too nervous, but
Yeah.
she was close. I didn't want to say anything until
That would have
very
been
close,
great.
but then she was like, you know what? She's like, as soon as I decided I wasn't gonna do it, she was like, I'm just so hugely relieved that I know that it was the right decision to make. But
Well, you know what? He called.
Oh.
Yeah, I have to say thank you. I don't usually answer unknown numbers. We got some working capital loans a few years ago, back when the world turned. And ever since then, one of them sold our information to literally every hard money lender in America. And so my phone rings day and night, so I don't answer. I don't have time to answer no all day.
Yeah.
Something told me, like, I don't know, I'm going to take this one. And she was on the other end of the line and said, hey, Grace said you guys are all right, and she kind of loves you. And so I don't usually hear that. I need to know who you are and what you do. And we had the nicest conversation.
Yes.
So,
and she had such a gorgeous voice. I also told her, you're such a rare find. Like, people who will collect autographs, there's no way to get Cass. She never does conventions. She's not online anywhere. You cannot reach her. She's unreachable. I barely could get her, and we have the same agent. So I told her, set up a little store. You get a box once a month, just sign your stuff, send it back, and you're helping out this great family. And and she's like, okay, I'm gonna think about it. So any autograph collectors, we may have something for you on Color World sometime. I don't know, check back.
It's close.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. Kath is pure performance. She's not about the applause. She's not about, the fandom. I remember she and I worked together on Baby Blues, which I think was before Weekenders, just doing I think I was doing the dog and she was doing like a 3-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl. And she made the two voices distinct. And they were so real that I remember being in my apartment one weekend with a sliding glass door open, and I heard Kath outside. I'm like, what the hell? And I go outside and like, no, it's actual children.
Oh my God.
Do you remember when she, I think it was in a Weekenders session, I remember her telling us how telling the story how she got into voice acting. She would read the Lord of the Rings books out loud with her boyfriend.
Yo.
And she would do all the just to amuse him. And that led to oh, you got something, you should try this.
I never knew that story.
Yeah, I remember her telling us that story.
So speaking of Lord of the Rings, Phil, you have an award for supporting actor in the Lord of the Rings video game.
Yeah.
Say what now?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank the internet.
Right?
There are a million awards that matter to no one. But yes, no, it was actually a great game. There's a game called Shadow of Mordor.
Yep.
Which is this like amazing Lord of the Rings full world game. Troy Baker plays the leading warrior and actually directed the second game. Wow. And I played an orc, and it was the first time I did motion capture.
Yo.
Which I always would say no to, because I always thought motion capture was to on-camera acting what video game voicing was to animation voicing. 4 times as hard for less money. But it's not. The motion capture thing was actually really cool. It was like doing theater, except like you didn't have to worry about lighting like on a movie set, because everything is lit and the camera's always running. And the cool thing was they had a big screen up there and they could play once you're scanned in, they can lay your character over you in real time.
That's awesome.
So I could look up and see myself moving as an orc.
Oh,
wow.
That's badass.
That's dope.
Really cool.
That's on the bucket list. I've always wanted. I auditioned a couple times.
Really?
But I'd love to do a motion capture. That'd be so much fun.
We need to get you landed as like the next assassin in Assassin's Creed. That would be dope AF.
For a while, people thought that the mocap actress for Catwoman was me, and she's in incredible shape. And I just let the internet go with that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Me doing those cartwheels.
Oh,
In heels.
Yes.
oh man, I love it. Okay, so speaking of weekenders, I didn't notice this until my daughter. I was getting ready for the panel. It is very hard to find, as Jason and I both found out this weekend, to figure out how to get ready. There's a YouTube channel. There's a Weekenders YouTube channel.
What?
Yeah. So since I see some eyebrows raised, I'm gonna drop that in chat right now. I did not. I went. I have Disney Plus. I purchased it for another panel event that we did with Gray, and I was like, "This is a Disney thing, and I need Disney." And you can't find the Weekenders on Disney Plus.
I
So
know. Everyone keeps asking for it. You know.
I call it the Marsden curse. Static couldn't find it for 20 years. Weekenders can't find it for 20 years.
Marsden can't find it for 20 years.
Yep.
He went so
No, he's all over the internet. Him I can
know.
find.
Oh yeah, no, he's yeah. Did you know that Justin Bieber mentioned the Weekenders in some interview, that it was like his favorite cartoon when he was growing up?
Beebs loves the Weekenders.
Yes,
Amazing.
I know. Somebody told me that a while back.
tell me you're just 1 degree of separation from Justin Bieber, and we can do this panel again, but with Justin Bieber. Tell me you can make that happen.
It was funny. I'm so empty inside that I was watching the Billie Eilish thing with Tex. You know, we were watching that.
Oh, how was that?
Oh, it's great. But
Yeah.
like, she grows up like in love with Justin Bieber, and then later on ends up like, you know, meeting him and working with him, and she's like, it's blowing her mind. I mean, she was obsessed with him when she was like 12.
Wow.
It's so funny. She has these she's showing these tearful videos of her going, I'm afraid if I ever get a boyfriend, I'm just gonna compare him to Justin. It's like, well, like we're in a relationship, because I saw him all the time. I knew everything about him. She's like, I know he was born at this time in this hospital. I mean, she was like upset. So it was very cute. But then I couldn't just let Billie Eilish have that moment in the middle of the movie. I reached over to Tex and I was like, "Did you know that Justin Bieber's favorite cartoon?" So, no, he knows who your mom is. That's what I'm just saying. And Tex was like, "Can you just let her have this? Just let her have this." Anyway.
Oh man. Yeah, I have Bieber fever, and there is no cure. So I watch everything, every documentary he puts out. He's dealt with so much. He was anyone who's any child actor experience, any child knows that you are everybody's toy, you are everybody's paycheck, you are like they want to take
support system has to be just perfect, and he did not have a good support system.
Yeah. I was thinking that about her, the fact that she lives with her family and has such an insular. That's the only reason why she's not like. And even in the movie, she has trouble, like just because there's all these like 50-year-old executive music, and she's got to stay after the show and like hug all of them and take pictures with all of them and their kids, and she kind of gets, you know, she's just done and kind of walks out at one point, and of course she's like on the internet, people are like, she's not nice, she's rude, and everything. She's like, I can't have 1 minute where I'm not like on, and you know, and I mean. To a much lesser degree, we've ever had to work to deal with that, but I can't imagine dealing with that at you know,
all the time.
Yeah,
right. No, she's like, because I know Billy's mom. She was in the Groundlings with me.
Oh my gosh!
And
she's great parents. Really great parents.
Maggie and Patrick are just the most grounded, you know, and like conscientious people. You know, they're both performers, but not like ego performers. They're like, you know, bringing light to the world kind of performers. You know, but you know, struggled for years because 2 actors raising 2 kids. But the family bonded over music. You know, it's funny because I remember when she first had Phineas, we would all joke because, you know, it's like, oh, hippie Maggie. Yeah, it's like, oh, you know, Maggie, once he can undo the bra, you should maybe stop breastfeeding. And of course, who's the schmuck now? Like we're all wishing we had breastfed like she did.
Oh man!
9 Grammys later.
I know. Yeah, I really. And then you know, Justin Bieber. You know, in the time in the movie, he's 25, and I was like, 25? Oh my god! You know, that was. I mean, it was only a couple of years ago, but I was like, that's like a baby, and he's been through everything, and so I thought he's the only person who can relate, because at one point he hugs her and they just hug for the longest time, and she cries on him, and he's just so there for her, and he keeps checking in on her, not in a creepy way, but then I just thought like he's the only person that has this shared experience, like there's just not anything else like it. So it was pretty cool.
It's super cool. He is incredibly grounded, has learned lesson after lesson. Now has an unbelievable team that protects them and enables it. He's been married for a couple years now. Haley's great. It's just a really, my parents are Canadian, so we're required as Canadians to know every other famous Canadian, like every. Yeah.
I've admired seeing it's like footage of him interacting with paparazzi, and he's just talking like why, like being very calm and be like, why are you talking to me like this? Well, I asked you to be just keep your distance. Well, do you have to? Is there? I mean, he's being diplomatic and trying to connect with them, which is difficult when I know. I just saw that I don't know who this girl is. She's very famous on the internet, and clips of these paparazzi like following her, getting into her face about a past relationship, like literally bringing her to tears. They were so relentless. It just makes me sick. This BuzzFeed, not BuzzFeed, but these paparazzi guys.
Yeah,
TMZ.
Yeah, TMZ guys. Awful.
Yeah. He came off so well in the movie, and he said some things to her that even Tex was like, that's good, because he was like, just remember, because she's really down on herself. She's like, I'm not talented. I can't do this. She's like kind of really that negative self-talk. But and later on he tells her, just remember that you're great, but you're not any greater than anybody else. And Tex was like, whoa, that hit hard, so yeah, it was in a good way, so,
yeah, it's cool. Okay. My daughter was listening as I was preparing. She's like, "Oh my gosh, they talk so fast," and I didn't realize until I kind of like watched a few other things, and then I'm like, "Oh, I got to get back on weekend. I got to keep watching episodes." Did that strike you guys? Was that intentional? Like how fast everybody talks in?
I think it's the pacing of that in animation. The pacing's got to be a little clipped, and then there's the comedy music that Doug kind of created for us. But you notice that they pitched us up. They pitched all of us in the first season, and then the second season it was just you and me, Phil. And then they let Gray and Kath do their own thing, but we were all like squeaked up a little bit.
Wow.
I noticed it when I tried to voice, because I got a cameo for Laura, and I was like, I gotta look up that voice again because I can't.
Yeah.
It was something like, I thought she was kind of down here more,
Right.
But then I looked it up and she was a little bit more like that. So I was like, oh, did I do it like that, or did they pitch me? So now I know they probably pitched me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just the first season, because I watched 2 episodes last night. One was 2 different seasons. The first one was definitely like we were all like Chippendales Rescue Rangers, and then the second one was just like Phil and I were just a little bit. But then Kath and Gray was like, it just sounded a little bit more natural.
Interesting.
So were those your lines out of your mouth, or were they speeding them up? Like, did you literally deliver everything that quickly? Do you guys remember whether or not
they may have sped it up, because I know sometimes for time they would speed things up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
because I feel like the episodes on YouTube are 13 minutes, and I was like, I don't think that's a thing. Like
there were 2 like 11 or 12-minute episodes per
block. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I looked at Phil's your bio, and right up at the like your trademark, the first thing under your trademark is high pitch fast talker.
Oh,
Really?
wow.
That IMDb says that you are known for being the voice of Samurai Jack and Hermes and Green Lantern. And then
Nobody talks higher and faster than the Samurai Jack. So
Can I just geek out for a second? I mean, Phil, I've texted you. I'm like, that is like my favorite cartoon, Samurai Jack. It is beautiful. You are amazing in it. And the 4th season, I texted Gray. I didn't even recognize you.
Right?
You were so good. I was like, who is that playing that character? And I saw in the credits, like, no way. That is like what I'm so jealous of you guys, because that's like, it's such a beautiful, beautiful entity.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those shows where I'm just proud to be a part of it and happy to ride on Gendy's coattails. Because, I mean, great. I'm sure the characters you guested on together had more lines than I had in the entire series.
I know that I was telling Gendy that recently. I was just like, I love that show because we would get scripts that were like 1 page long, and I'm like, okay. So I was at Cartoon Network for like 4 minutes, and then it turns into this. Then Gendy just makes it into this gorgeous thing. People are like, you're in that, yeah. And I was just like, yeah, and it was easier. It was just the easiest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Well, and for those who are watching that, are interested in voiceover, like, Phil's a perfect example of like delivering so much depth with very, very little. And there was so much to that character because of are you below me and everyone's thing? Because of this guy. Because this guy.
I thought you said you blow me, and I was like, well, okay.
That's season 6.
I've grown.
It's been a long time since I've seen Phil, and I miss him.
Oh my goodness. Phil, are there any kind of superhero love in your past? Did you grow up a superhero guy?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm a big comic book guy.
So were you stoked with the Jon Stewart thing?
Totally. Although it's funny because I was really more of a Batman person.
Really? Okay.
But I had to read up on Green Lanterns, and but just working on Justice League.
Yeah.
And you guys both did episodes of that, right?
Justice League.
Yeah, you did.
Probably in your 1,000 credits, Greg.
Just say yes, Gray. Whatever cartoon we mentioned, just say yes. You probably were.
I remember that.
But that was, so much fun because you had those great writing, and you had Andrea Romano directing, and she would do that thing where everybody, the whole cast, read through the script before you started recording.
It was always a full cast.
Yeah. So it was just.
I hated that though, and I love Andrea.
What? Because you were always late.
I hated the read-throughs because I would do something great because I like to work like fresh, just like and every time we would do the actual record, she would go, "Gray, you did something great in the read-through," and I'm like, "I know," and you took the magic and you threw it in the trash. So I love her so much.
Did you never intentionally tank the read-through just so you could have it ready to go?
No, it was just it was just usually almost every time I do 3 takes, but it's always that first initial hit.
Oh, really?
And so when I did the read through, I could never recapture that that freshness.
Brad, they kind of wouldn't let you too. I remember because I'm like Gray, like I like to.
Yeah.
First, I would kind of not phone it in, but I just give like a basic performance. But they would direct me right then and there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, trust me, I'm not going to do that.
I know, and then you end up sounding like a really insecure, like, oh, that's not how I was going to do it. I was going to do it better than that. No, that wasn't even what I was going to do. And then they're like, okay, it's fine, Gray. We still, you're still talented.
You're already getting paid. Relax.
Yeah.
But also, I would every time I got an Andrea script, go, well, there's one script I don't have, even though I only read about 30% of the things. But I was like, there's another thing. No more homework tonight because they're going to read it again when I get there, so I'll know what's going on. Yeah.
Did she do that for Avatar? Did she do the read-through thing for that?
No, because it was so many celebrities that I hardly ever met anybody. I did all my most dramatic scenes in a booth by myself, like sobbing and dying, and not dying, but just like sobbing and all by myself. So I would just come in, do my lines, and go. So
okay. Yeah, we're on book 4 of the audiobook for Color World, and it's funny. The guys, they want to come in. They don't want to read the book. None of the guys have read the books, but both of the women have read the entire series. They know all the characters. Just interesting to me, the difference, the dynamics, and directing one versus directing the other. David's the same way as you and Jason are. He just does not want to ruin. He wants it to come out while he's acting and not in some read through. Well, guys, as always happens every week, we come to the end, sadly, of our panel, and we have to say goodbye. Huge thank you to everybody for taking time. The good news is, for everybody in chat, the day is not over. So we're going to take a break. We're going to throw Gray into the fire, and she's going to go hang out with folks.
Go feed those damn children.
Yes, I know. They keep wandering in here. I don't know if you saw my son in here earlier, but
oh, you're good. I've had to do hangouts with Eov, my little 1-year-old. He's a cool little dude. So enjoy. Jason and Phil, enjoy your break. We will see you back for the VIP. I'll send out that link just in case. And then just everybody in chat, remember, it is not too late. Thank you so much for joining us. As you can all tell, every one of them is amazing. So go grab a hangout, shoot an autograph, whatever you guys need, and then we'll see you in VIP. Thank you, everybody, for watching.